Way back in 2005, two brothers set off on a road trip that would save the world and change television.
Laurel and Hardy.
No. For 15 seasons and 327 episodes, Supernatural took audiences on a wild ride of family, fate, and faith with a rocking soundtrack and a seriously cool car.
But that was then, Bobo, and this is now. And yes, the show has quote-unquote ended, but we're not quite done with the journey.
No, we're not.
And that's why we're watching it all over again, or for Rob and me, for the first time,
That's right.
diving deep into every episode of Supernatural with the fine folks who made it. And we're taking you along for the ride.
Whether you like it or not. I'm Rob Benedict. I played Chuck Shirley, a.k.a. God.
Spoiler.
Yeah, it is a bit of a spoiler, but hey, spoilers are fair game here.
Fine. And I'm Richard Speight Jr., and I played the Trickster, also known as the Archangel Gabriel, and I did a little bit of Loki work in there.
Okay, you know we're running out of time.
Okay, well, we'll be talking about the entire series, so whatever we say, accept it. You've been warned.
So buckle up and settle in.
Because this, my friend, is Supernatural, then and now.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Benedict.
Hi, my name is Richard Speight.
And we're talking about Season 2, Episode 12, Nightshifter.
Nightshifter.
Hey, but before we get going, Rich, did you know that we have a Patreon now for this podcast? Yeah.
We do?
Yeah, now we already have one for our Kings of Con podcast. And for anyone who does that, you know that it's the way to go. You got to subscribe to us on Patreon. There's either the angel level or the archangel level.
I'm going to be the Archangel level because I played an Archangel.
Okay, wow. Name drop of yourself.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You'll get early access to episodes, exclusive content, and all kinds of benefits.
Can't wait for my benefits. Bring on the benefits.
Yeah, that's right. Rich is an archangel.
I'm going to start calling you Robbie Benefit because it's like Benedict, but different.
That's right, benefits. You might also get some of those Zoom interviews you've been asking for.
Robbie, I have some questions for you when I get my benefit.
Great. We want to try
Zoom interview, Rich asking Robbie the questions that people are afraid to ask.
This is the kind of back and forth you're going to get only if you subscribe to our Patreon. And let me tell you too, if you subscribe to the one on Kings of Con, this is going to be better. And I'm saying that because it's run by an actual producer who's going to do it really, really well.
Oh yeah.
But if it was just me and Rich, we'd be dropping the ball. So it's a really good thing. So go to patreon.com/SPN then and now to learn more and sign up.
Yeah, do it now.
Okay, Nightshifter.
Tell us all about it, Bobo.
Sam and Dean pose as FBI agents to investigate a string of robbers who killed themselves after the holdup.
That seems pointless. If you hold up the bank, you can't spend the dough if you off yourself.
It does. It does seem ridiculous, but nevertheless. Their investigation brings them to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where they meet Ronald Resnick, an ex-bank security guard and conspiracy theorist. Now, Ronald doesn't believe that the crimes were committed by the folks accused of the robberies, but by a being that is able to change and assume identities, a person that he calls a man-droid.
Man-droid.
Yeah, the man-droid. Now, the brothers confiscate the security tapes in Ronald's possession and assure him there's no such thing. This is the work of people.
Good old-fashioned people, Bobo.
Good old-fashioned people. Actually, in reality, the boys know that this is the work of a shapeshifter and are able to identify the bank that is the next robbery target. Sam and Dean pretend to work at the security company. They're able to view the security cameras and identify the branch manager as the shapeshifter because of his glowing eyes on a security camera.
Right.
Before Sam and Dean can move in on him, Ronald bursts in and takes everyone hostage. He believes the man-droid is there.
That's an extreme move by Ronald, I'm just going to say.
Truly, truly is. Dean levels with Ronald and explains it isn't a man-droid, but a shapeshifter. Together, they lock everyone in the vault and go looking for the branch manager. However, he's already shed his skin and assumed the identity of somebody else.
Yick.
Police have now surrounded the bank. Sam's worried about Dean getting arrested.
Yeah, because Dean's already in hot water. You know, he's already wanted for crimes that he didn't commit, but his shapeshifter sort of framed him. So
That's right. That's right. And then a hostage starts to have a heart attack.
Or faked a heart attack. I don't know. I didn't trust that hostage.
A heart attack hostage. And in the commotion to get him out, the shapeshifter makes a run for it.
Classic shapeshifter. More like shape runner.
Shape runner. That should have been the name of the episode. And for the record, I wouldn't put a hyphen in shapeshifter. I say make it all one word.
Okay, well.
Ronald pursues the shapeshifter who made a run for it, runs by a window, and is shot by a police sniper. Dean is able to get the ailing man outside, but is caught on camera. The FBI agent in charge of the hostage situation calls Dean and tells him he's been looking for him since St. Louis. And what happened down there?
SWAT.
SWAT storms the building. We got a SWAT storm coming over east side of the city. SWAT storms the building, and the boys are able to isolate and kill the shapeshifter. They're able to overpower the 2 SWAT team members and wear the uniforms to escape to the Impala. Okay, Rich, Nightshifter.
Loved it. Right out of the gate. I'm going to tell you right now. I thought it was great. It felt big. Felt like Dog Day Afternoon meets, an action movie, because it had the all the people outside, the big crowd sequences, and they blocked off a street of Vancouver.
Yep.
Helicopters around, and it was just big, man. It felt big.
A little bit heat, a little bit Dog Day. Definitely Dog Day Afternoon. Yeah, and everybody in it is so great. And Chris Gauthier, I had the pleasure of meeting a few years ago. He's the
gentleman who plays Ronald, right?
Yeah, and he's nails that part. And then Malik plays the FBI guy.
He's great. Malik Whitfield is so great.
Yeah, and he means business. And there are just so many things that are introduced. There's this idea that now Dean is a man on the run. Sam and Dean are like boys on the run from the cops. And then you've also got your Monster of the Week episode. But within that, there's this awesome character of Ronald, who goes from like a witness, like their main witness, to actually this instigator of the bank robbery. And then it becomes just this.
Yeah. I want to give a big shout out to that actor and to Phil Sgriccia, because that character could have been a real cartoon. Could have been real, almost silly.
Right.
Because it's sort of could have become a stock character of a conspiracy theorist. But I thought that Chris stayed just this side of that and kept it grounded and real, and made for a really a character we related to. So when we lost him, it was gut wrenching. And that's a guest star. Like, we barely knew the guy, but still felt for him and felt like his heart was in the right place. He was doing his best and got caught up in a bad situation. It's just really well done.
Yeah. Here's a question. Who had the combo of the bank vault?
Ooh.
I mean, because they could spin the thing that locks it, right?
Right.
But then how do they get it open?
That's a good
Or maybe
question.
It's not that kind of vault. Maybe you just turn it the other way and it opens right away.
Maybe it's just like, you're just spinning the bolts into the wall. I don't know, man. I guess it wasn't a combo, but nonetheless.
Okay. But no, I loved it. I thought it was epic. Kudos to Phil and to Ben Edlund for writing it. I mean, it's really hard to get, what is it, 40 minutes, 44 minutes when you take out the ads, right?
Right.
And to fit this much information into one synopsis for an episode, really great.
It was big. It was a lot of story points, a lot of character development from not just Jared and Jensen's story, but the guest cast and, the switcheroo of them thinking they had the shapeshifter in the form of the girl, but then she passes out, and they're like, "Wait a minute!" Like, that was all just so well done. The fight with the actress Georgia was so great, and it was like a girl in a nightgown fighting Dean, and it was tense. At no point was it tongue in cheek or silly. It was just really well done.
Yeah, and he never said like, I can't hit a girl. Like, it was they just
they went at it. They really went at it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
The one thing I thought was funny that kind of felt like, okay, TV moment, was at the end. Suddenly there's just 2 FBI guys in their underwear locked up in a closet. Like, they never showed the guys sneaking up on a couple of dudes, or, it doesn't really show the FBI in the best light of, like, they can be duped by the 2 very people they're searching for and get the jump on them and knock them unconscious without alerting any of the other FBI agents in the building and get them down to their skivvies.
I was also impressed that Sam took down like 4 of them. Like, guns and all, those guys are just like...
Yeah, I saw that. That was a real action moment.
Whack, whack, whack. And they're all down.
And what are the odds that they would cork a 6'5" FBI guy? Because, like, otherwise Sammy's like, looking like you were wearing like a little kid's FBI outfit on a normal guy.
Hey,
but
Johnny.
So
Johnny, who's the big guy? I don't recognize him.
Why is he wearing shorts? On the heels of that, when they get out and they're up the stairs and they're going to the Impala and they just break into a saunter. And I'm like, okay. That seemed a little like, wouldn't you be a little nervous?
Like, okay, let's go. Start the car.
Like, they just start moseying through the parking garage. To get to the Impala. I'm like, guys, we got a ticking clock here. You're being pursued and you're in stolen FBI gear. Like, you got to get on your horse here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When they pull their ski masks up and Jared, it becomes kind of a beanie.
Yeah.
I thought, that was his first. Because Jared loves his beanies.
He does.
That was the first moment. It was the origin story of the beanie.
And by beanies, we mean hats, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We mean headgear. Okay. So I'm going to give it a beard rating, and I'm going to go this. I don't do this very often, Robbie. I'm going to go full bushy beard. Chris Stapleton, big beard.
Same. Well groomed, well grown beard. My favorite so far of season 2.
Same. Just rock solid. I mean, every single guest star was a home run. It just was built solid from the ground up. Great job, Ben Edlund. Great job, Phil Sgriccia. Great job to all the actors on the show.
Awesome. So before we get to our interview, I'd like to just take a pause. And someone we were at a convention in Rome a few weeks ago, and somebody suggested that we take a minute to talk about where Sam and Dean are in their journey. And I think that was a good suggestion. So let's just talk about for just a quick second, so what's going on in the overall arc of their relationship right now this season? And correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I see it, there's this odd sort of tension going on because Dad told Dean before Dad died, you're going to have to kill Sam, maybe? Right?
Well, yeah, that's what we thought. At one point, I thought it might be a demon is your dad.
Yeah, and he's not your brother, which really got to my head. And now I can't remember if that's true or not. But I guess it's not.
No.
So, and then, besides just the sort of normal conflict that they have, that's this thing that keeps going on where Sam is concerned about it.
But don't you feel like Sam is concerned about it, but Sam's also kind of morphing into this. He's almost taking the reins, and he's being more violent towards Sterling K. Brown's character in the earlier episodes in season 2. And even in this one, you made the comment about him whooping up on those FBI
guys.
Take the sort of is that possible or not possible out of it. That's just Sam Winchester wouldn't have done that a season ago.
Right. Right. Agreed. And, I'm just interested to see how it unfolds between the two of them. Because, there's some episodes where I'm like, wow, they're not getting along. So there's just something bubbling underneath.
Well, I mean, they did they were a little infighting in this situation. They were, Sam was really annoyed at Dean that he put himself in harm's way because here they are. Dean's being pursued by the feds anyway. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on. It's bigger than just daddy issues now.
And he's kind of jealous when he's in the vault, and then the hot girl who worked there was like, "Oh, your brother's such a hero."
That was a good eye roll moment for him.
Yeah. That was the same girl where he's checking out her bum on the camera. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
When they're in the video room, he zooms in on her bum.
Oh, right. I don't know. Was that Georgia?
And he's like, Dean, we got to look at their eyes. Her eyes are up there, Dean. You didn't see that? You didn't catch that?
Yes, of course.
I don't
remember that. It must be the same, probably because that is the featured actress of the episode, so it must be.
Real creepo move there by Dean, though.
Classic Dean.
It's a classic Dean.
Dated move.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our interview.
All right, it's time for, our interview with two of the greats. I mean, we've had Ben Edlund on this show. We've had Phil Sgriccia, but we have never had them together.
That's right.
Until now.
Or as I like to call them, Bill.
Is that their celebrity?
Yeah, Ben Edlund, Phil Sgriccia.
Or Finn.
Yeah, Phil Sgriccia directed 45 episodes of Supernatural. He's now directing The Boys. And Ben Edlund wrote 24 episodes of Supernatural and created and executive produced The Tick. Here they are. All right, everybody, we have a real treat back to join us, but not the first time they've been on the show, first time they've been together. Writer, producer Ben Edlund, and editor, producer, writer, just overall personality, not writer, but a writer in my heart, Phil Sgriccia.
What does that mean, a writer?
I don't know. I was just trying to cover.
This is a big deal, Robbie. This is what we call a Hollywood moment. When you get two industry bigwigs, obviously individually, we've had Ben Edlund, we've had Phil Sgriccia, but this is a powerhouse combo we got going on here.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really
intense.
is. So Ben wrote the episode that we're talking about, and Phil directed it. Let's get that out of the way off the bat.
Yeah, Phil did not write it. Was this the first team up? Was this the first Sgriccia Edlund 1-2 punch?
Oh yeah,
It was.
And not the last.
No. Had much more fun moments.
So here's a question. I know that Supernatural's its own animal in that it typically does not have a writer on set. A lot of shows will have the writer come up and be a part of the process. Not so much in Supernatural, but obviously in the pre-production process, everybody's on the same calls and on the same page. How much interaction did you guys have, and how much did the script adjust from what you were handed, Phil, to what ended up being shot in that sort of pre-production process?
Well, I'm in LA a lot where the writers are because I'm in post. So Ben and I would be in the same offices. And I'm sure we had many a conversation before I went up to prep. There was always just the things that you read into it. One of the best things about having a script by Ben and having the casting that we did was it takes about 75% of the weight off your shoulders as a director. It's like when you get a good story and everything works and makes sense, and then you get some casting gems like we had in this episode. It was
Chris Gauthier was really great.
Yeah, really fun. And the young lady, I think her name was Georgia, who is the one that fights Jensen.
Yeah,
right.
In her slip and her cut neck. She was a gamer. I mean, really totally into it. So.
That was one of the most brutal fights, I think. Yeah. At least for it was just incredibly raw, and you don't feel any sense that Dean is undermatched. Like
right.
She was
God no.
That was very,
no. That was
a beautifully made scene, Phil.
Well, thank you. But it was one of those. It was where we had to kind of play the rules. You're looking at a woman in a slip, an undergarment, and she needs to hold her own because of, and it was super fun. Jensen was all game for it, and so was Georgia. So I remember that fight because it was a horrible location. We were actually in a basement somewhere. Yeah. Might have been that bank. That bank basically opened their vault literally to us.
Was it a working bank?
Yeah, it was a real bank. It's RBC Bank in Vancouver,
but not like not retired. It was like still they just shut down for the day.
It was still, but I think they had. I don't know. They allowed filming, and it was big, and it had all those staircases, and then we built some of the hallways and some of the back room stuff on stage. But it all kind of Jerry Wanick and the art department made it seamless, and it was super fun because we got everything we needed outside with the police and the SWATs and FBI.
It was a big episode. A lot going on.
There was a lot. Yeah. And it was weird because it was like this weird action show, horror show kind of, because there was a lot of moments that weren't necessarily horror elements. It was about them being caught and about how bad you felt for Ronald,
Yeah.
Yeah, man. There was things that were interesting. Rob mentioned it was a big show, and it was a very big show, which you wouldn't necessarily think if you saw it described. You would almost think it's a bottle episode because they're all in a bank and they're all in a vault, but that's far from the case. I was struck by how big it started out of the gate. All that news footage, which sometimes in a TV show you feel like they put three people with notepads in a corner and just kind of shoot it and hope that the walla sound they add later makes it sound big. But this looked big. I mean, it looked like you shut down a street of Vancouver at night and
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Was that already in the script, or was that an edit choice to make that the news? How you do kind of a cut out of
out of the teaser into a news break.
Yeah.
I think that was scripted, but that's also one of those moments. Even by that point, I had done enough television where when you write in a scene like that, you're already picturing what you're talking. Like, oh, there's a news van, and there's like 5 cops in a news van, and and there's but no, it was really powerful. I also love the way that it works with the cop that walks by the entrance, and he just looks like he's ignoring it, and then that. I don't recall necessarily. I think that's a kind of moment that Phil might have created on the fly.
That's an homage to the Anderson tapes, which was a Sean Connery movie in the 70s.
Wow.
They're gonna rip off all these expensive condos in the whole building, and somebody has been illegally wiretapping most of the people in this building, and so the cops have all the info, but they can't use any of it. In fact, they have to erase the tapes at the end of the movie. But there's a moment where a person goes by on a bike and looks, and then you see him go around the corner and there's 50,000 cops,
Right.
I think it was probably that in my head, because it was kind of one of those to help keep the tension, like, oh, they're not going to get out of this, and this was kind of, we had already started down the road on the show of the boys being fugitives, we'd already set that up. Right. So this was an extension of that being, on the run.
It was so effective, though, and it's so big. There were several elements about this story that felt big. Going back to the fight, one of the things I thought was really cool about the fight between Jensen and Georgia was the peeling off of the arm skin. Was that a Phil thing or was that a Ben thing?
No, I think that was in the script because I think we wanted to make sure the audience knew who she was.
It was really cool and so effectively done. And again, beating the rush on effects back in the day because, I'm sure that took a fair amount of practical application of something to get
all it was.
peeled off.
It was all practical. It was like goo under. She had this arm, and we could re-peel it, put it back on, and they just had this layer of goop underneath it. So when he grabs it, it just sloughs off, And
how many takes do you remember? How many times you pulled that arm?
I don't know. I know we could redo it, but it was like not as effective. But it was the middle of a fight, so it kind of helped that you could get to that point, through the fight, and then we put it on her, and and then it was just that one piece of the arm, and he holds it up, and that's
but then the rest of the fight, she's got this scabby, bloody arm. I mean, ugh, Phil.
Well, you got to talk to Toby Lindola. He did the effects.
Okay, I will.
That's good fake skin.
Yeah.
So we're halfway through season 2, and a menagerie of monsters have started to develop. We got crossroad demons, vampires, shapeshifters, vengeful spirits. Did this idea start with the monster or the trapped in a bank concept?
I believe that this. Oh, that's a good question.
I know I didn't write it, so that's why it's actually a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a piece of knowledge that might be nice to have, I guess. If you're the possessor of it.
Somebody should interview you and ask that question. Then we'd really know.
I mean, I think that the bank as the form, had a lot to do with it, but it was also it was kind of the ask that they be trapped in that situation, and we hadn't repeated a monster like that was the first repeat on the shapeshifter, if I'm not mistaken. And so that in itself was kind of a little bit of what can we do to sort of vary a pre-existing monster. I like stuff like that where you meet it again and you can talk about how we met this one in Milwaukee and this one in St. Louis, and it's all like to me there's something that reinforces that underlying fabric of hunter reality and sort of hunter subculture. So that to me is exciting. But yeah, the shapeshifter happened to be a really also flexible monster for like, who the hell would do that and why would they? Well, shapeshifters are almost human, but very like nutty and sort of idiosyncratic and kind of obsessive. So it was a useful monster.
I thought that was interesting because it said that there was a dialogue about that, about how they are almost people. So they have greed for money. Like it wasn't just, I want to eat blood or some monster drive. Right. It was actually a human greed that drove them, which I thought was really cool because it sort of, maybe this is the wrong word, but humanized this monster. Like, I understand this monster more than I understand other monsters. They're driven by human frailty. They just happen to have another skill set to go about it. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think they make an interesting stand-in for some of the things that we're actually rationally afraid of in the people around us, which would be sociopath or psychopath, people who can step into different sort of just personas and the objectives. That's not to say that those people are less than human. That would not be correct.
Right.
But more like it plays with some of the fears evoked by the people around us and what they can be hiding and stuff. So and then also if you pull on them, they just get all gross and rubbery and disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is that a conversation that was had in the room? Like these traits, the rules that monsters abide by in the supernatural universe. Can ghosts go through doors and that kind of thing? In this world, was this a detail that was sort of sussed out the room? Do they have human desires and that kind of thing?
I think so. I mean, I think it came initially from the first one, Skin or Skins, that a lot of what was established there in terms of the shapeshifter psychology. This was a slightly more evolved one that could shapeshift with less pain and in shorter order. And didn't have to have, there were some elements. So there was sort of like, it was a variation, but it was in the same sort of pocket of those creatures. But like every time we talked about either a new creature or building out on an existing creature, those were some of the most fun times. Having had a lot of like role-playing game experience, you argue about what the monsters are, but that's all we would do. Is you're like, well, but what if you cut off its head? Yeah.
And the same true for you, Phil. Your pre-production meetings, are you talking about, okay, this is what the skin's got to look like when, the bodysuit?
Yeah,
after...
I mean, we kind of learned a lesson with skin, and that worked really well. The teeth, all that close-up stuff. Toby, who was our special effects makeup crew chief at that time, was fantastic. He's an Emmy winner guy, and he just would take it on his own. And he knew this was a horror show, and there's elements that have to be that ick factor, that gross factor. When Ronald falls on that big slimy heap.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And he picks up some, and that's the most gross part. Is like he's not grossed out; he's intrigued by it. He's like,
it's so lifelike,
and it's like he's like picking up lasagna noodles and
smelling it.
Yeah.
He thinks he's picking up some kind of special effect makeup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So here's a question for the group, and Rob, maybe we've already know this. So maybe this is a dumb question, but what do shapeshifters look like when they're not assuming the form of somebody else?
Ooh.
Do we know?
You have to go to the Splinter Prime, I guess.
So I'm not missing something. We haven't seen that yet.
I don't think we have seen that. I was always intrigued by it, partly having written two of them now. Well, later, by the time I exit because of Monster Movie, so there are multiple sort of iterations of the shapeshifter. That the idea of all of them sort of being like, it's kind of nuts, but there's an old story by an excellent sci-fi author named Theodore Sturgeon that's called The Dreaming Crystals. It's great, or The Synthetic Man, and it's about someone who could shapeshift, and it's a screwed up story, man. It's two diamonds that are actually alien organisms that are in the eyes of this little Punch and Judy puppet create an entity. I don't want to get us caught up in it, but anyway, 50s, 60s sci-fi, and he doesn't have a normal form. He just starts to change. He needs to be a woman, he becomes a woman. He needs to be this guy he wants to kill, he becomes that guy. And there is no sort of, that's their biggest problem. They don't have I would imagine they look like a kind of a creepily not distinct person. Almost like, that amazing, it was Gary Oldman in the Hannibal, the faceless victim of Hannibal Lecter in, I forget which movie iteration, but he played this guy who ate his own face. I think they look like that.
Oh.
Ugh.
Wow. Was it Maneater?
No.
That's the old Michael Manvert.
No, it was later on. Yeah, it was later on.
I think it was the second one.
Okay.
But it's almost like it's the chicken and egg, right? Which came first, because I almost don't want to know, how it started, because every decision you make to try and explain that, somebody's going to go, nope, that's not right.
Right.
You're kind of stuck, I think, trying to.
Well, the question is cool.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Right. So, and that it's still alive, and it didn't, through 15 years, so far as I know, better, Phil, it didn't get an answer, which means it's one of those ones you can kind of think about.
Right, for sure.
Does it come back? Does shapeshifter come back in Supernatural at some point?
Not that one.
That one gets killed.
That one, Dean kills it.
Oh, right, of course. It's dead.
The critter comes back, certainly in the Monster Movie, which I think is the fourth season.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there has to have been at least another one. And there are sort of companion critters that are close, somewhere between Lycanthrope and Shapeshifter. But,
Is there a tie-in between the Shapeshifter in this episode, or in any episode, and werewolves? Because there was some reference in the script, in the story, when he was describing how they kill.
Well, just because it's a silver bullet.
But that was the only correlation? That was the only...
Well, partly because, werewolves change just like the shapeshifters change. So I think there's a continuity there.
Gotcha.
Bodily movement change.
So you can kill them with silver knife.
Silver reacts the same way to
Got it.
So I think that was the connection.
I think it's a family of monsters because, there's also there's all kinds of were creatures from different cultures and parts of the world. So there's sort of like, I like that too, the way that the hunters were getting their own sort of like lexicon built up, but it was really a bunch of Leonard Skinner fans like trying to work out a taxonomy for creatures that have no names and no
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Kind of cool.
Sure.
That's awesome. This is Richard Spate Jr. stopping in to say hi and let you know that we've got to take a quick break. Thanks for supporting Supernatural then and now. And now, back to the show.
There's so many things in here in this script that I really love. Chris Gautier's character, so many levels to that character. And then the FBI guy that comes on in.
Charles Whitfield. Charles Malik Whitfield.
Yeah. He's really great. And, there's this whole other thing where he's chasing the boys. So you got lots of different things going on. I guess there's really no question to this other than it's a comment saying, kudos, it's a great script.
Rob, you being a music guy, I'm curious if you noticed this because it stood out to me. I thought the score was especially good in this one.
It was. I did stand out to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
It felt big.
Yeah, Chris did this one. It was so much fun. One of the most fun scenes I had doing was going to Ronald's house.
Yes.
And
yes.
Right.
And here, the 40 Times, that was a real cover of a magazine.
Wow.
I used to have a subscription to the 40.
Of course.
It was
no follow-up questions, Your Honor.
The whole laser eyes, to this day, my wife, if she sees something like that, she'll go, he's got the laser eyes. You'll see that. Martha will go,
That's
something
hilarious.
like that. And Man-droid, of course, was the other.
Man-droid's great.
And Chris,
Man-droid.
Chris was so on point with everything. His timing, his excitement, his exuberance in being this crazy guy who lives by himself. He's a night watchman,
But he just stayed this side of cartoony though. Like that's what made it great, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought he did such a great job of grounding the whole thing.
Well, you saw the joy in it. He realized he wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
That was the great thing. Like he's got a gun.
Yeah,
he's got a gun. He's holding up. He's got a bunch of people hostage. He's locked himself in a bank, and he's like, "See, I'm not nuts." But like, he really was so happy in that moment. It was great.
And he really gets into it, like aiming the gun around. He's like, I met Chris at a convention early on. He's a really sweet guy, and I wasn't sure if like this was going to be it for him. Like then he dies, and we never see this actor again, right?
Yeah,
this is it.
It's a shame.
It's too bad, but the laser beam hit him in the back, and
man.
It's like one of the better deaths I have been associated with as a longtime murderer. People that people love. Like this is, that when he goes down at that moment, and also when the sound drops out, and it's just, and then
that was great. It was so dramatic, and I gotta say, I didn't think he was gonna die. Like I know
that's why he had to die. That's why he had to, because otherwise he would have been so cool to keep alive.
Yeah,
and watch his evolution as a hunter and have him crisscross back and forth. They had done it in the Slayerverse, the Buffy with Wesley, the character Wesley, where if you saw like Ronald go from kind of has not actually been tested to somebody who has the World War I trench face in season 10 or something, that would have been just amazing. But I think that was a pretty powerful death.
I think it's a great death, and it makes sense to all of us. I'm sure Chris Gautier would strongly disagree with that choice.
Sure.
Well, like I said, he's been to a few conventions. Like the fans caught on too. They got it. This guy's really good. Phil, was this like a mid-season finale or something? It feels that big to me. It feels like.
Well, I don't think so.
You know what I mean?
I don't remember
when they used to do that. When there was one special week where all the shows like rolled out their biggest episodes. You know what I mean?
We'd have, this was, I don't know, what episode was this? 12 or
12? It might have been coming back out of the.
Yeah, it might have been coming back. Because usually it was like between 9 and 11, somewhere at 9 and 11.
I think 9 and 10 most of the time.
Yeah, we showed 9 or 10 in a row and then take a break in December, come back in late January or something. There was always like 5 weeks off. I don't know. I'd have to look at all of them and see what's. But
You circling back on the shooting of it, Phil, you talked about it being in a real bank, which is an amazing coup for just
that vault door was real.
bang for your
Wow.
buck. But what was the downside? Like that was, because you're in small spaces. Like, what was the pain about shooting in a bank?
All night shooting, because we could only be there at night.
Would the crew take any of the money that was just in the vault?
Yeah, what happened to that?
I don't see why they wouldn't.
That part of the vault wasn't available to us.
That's convenient.
There was 2 sections of the vault.
That seems like they didn't trust you.
I think a little bit.
That's weird.
A little bit. But
A day I wouldn't let a film crew of a film I was making shoot in my own home.
You gotta remember, some of the stuff we built, like the video room we built, and some of the hallways. So it married in, so it allowed this kind of labyrinth. And plus that vault, those stairs, you actually come down into the vault, into the bank from the street level. It's actually below street level because it's on a hill in Vancouver. The whole building is built on an angle kind of.
Oh, wow.
So when you do come down the stairs, you're upstairs to get in, and then you immediately come down into that big room. So that was all real, and there was the vault part was real, and then the video room and some of the hallways where they were looking around and closets and stuff like that. So yeah.
And you had to shut down a street. You had to shut down the street outside.
Yeah, we did that. I think we were there over at the bank and at the outside probably 3 or 4 days, probably.
That just feels so big. That just feels big budget, man. I feel like they wouldn't. This very same script would not have been made at that price point 6 years later.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, the stuff was kind of tight on we were only in one little corner, and our big giant visual effect was actually the helicopter.
Yeah.
That was not
really,
that was all CG. We didn't do that, that flyover.
And that it's a worthwhile investment, because I think that's why everyone is kind of in the back of their mind thinking, wow, that was huge.
Yeah.
Because
right.
There was a helicopter at the party.
Maybe, yeah.
I think, there's the command center, there's the SWAT truck, there's all these other cars. A lot of them are just blocking the road. We just put skins on them and make them look like they're part of Milwaukee. And then the news people, we've got real news cams. So we're like doing Zooms and things like that.
Yeah.
To make that real. I used to be a news cameraman when I first got out of college. So all that was very in my wheelhouse, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd been to not a standoff or a bank robbery, but stuff like that. We call that spot news. When it's on the spot, you got to get there. So
also from your Max Headroom experience, am I correct?
Yes, all that is there.
That's awesome.
But
that is awesome.
All the video stuff, we had to set up all the security cam points of view so they could see things, and we'd have to we did the zoom ins and things like that. We had to make sure we had the right angles to get the glow, the laser eyes.
Right. Was any of that special effect?
No, I mean, we might have added a little glow there, but that wasn't much. It was to be kind of silvery.
Right.
But,
it's great.
I think, it was super, watching it again, it was like, yeah, we did some cool stuff.
Yeah. Ben, was the episode always called Nightshifter?
As long as it had a name, yes. I recall for some reason, I do remember that moment. I remember telling Kripke the title of it. He was working on some other thing in the writer's room, and I was like, it should be called Nightshifter.
That makes sense, though. I mean, that's really good.
I thought it was brilliant.
And it makes not a lot of sense. It sounds like it makes sense, but it doesn't.
He's shifting.
Shifts,
it's night.
Well, no,
often,
but it's like,
but not exclusively.
Not
right,
exclusively
but the big
Nightshifter,
setup though about the guard getting killed.
Yeah, it's Ronald is a night guard, a night shift.
That's true.
Guard.
He works the night shift, and he runs into a shifter, and it's almost like one of those Wheel of Fortune puzzles that has the. Anyway, yeah.
Do titles? Is the writer responsible for the titles?
I think a lot of the time that was the way it worked out. I recall titling most of mine. Sometimes the title I chose was like too asinine or up its own ass.
I don't know.
It had something to do, too much ass in it. It had too much.
That's a great title.
Ghostfacers. Everyone hates Hitler.
Ghostfacers. What's that?
Everyone hates Hitler was.
Oh yeah,
Hitler.
Yeah.
Hollywood Babylon. That was the other one.
Yeah,
that
one might have been. That might have been Eric. I'm not sure.
So Ben, you write these scripts. You don't exactly know who's assigned to the slot to direct it, at least, or maybe you did at a point. But here you are. You write the script, and then the maestro Phil gets it. That had to be exciting that you weren't getting shuttled off to some flunky.
I came to understand only through the process completely how much that is true. And like watching kind of, no, that was just truly like the amount of invention and sort of like, I don't know. No one's informed Phil that he's not making a major feature motion picture.
Good. Keep it that way. Right?
No one ever told him.
Nobody's
and I don't think anyone should tell him. He seems perfectly content.
Yeah.
But like a lot of like also really penetrative thinking into what the characters, if they're going to do something here, how does it reinforce the theme, the story, the character in that moment? Like, so those things are like, yeah. And so then only, I think more so after that, I would start to like watch the dice start to roll at the beginning of the season and see like, oh no, he's not going to do that one. All right. I mean, but there are other very like talented, I had a lot of good runs with Bob Singer, like he's also someone who obviously knew the show backwards and forwards and I think also a number of memorable episodes, but Phil, you're very special.
Stop.
What a great way to wrap up this phenomenal conversation.
Oh, wait a minute. You're not even going to ask the one most important question.
God, Rich, I can't believe you're not going to ask.
Well, I thought you were going to take it, Rob. When you didn't, I thought, well, I guess
you know
we're
what?
not going there.
Let's just go ahead and have Phil ask himself.
Yes.
What was the question?
You
Phil?
didn't ask about the song at the end.
Oh, right.
That's
first of all, well, it's the best.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Music drop.
Best music drop.
I think. Sorry, guys, I got to go now.
No. Let me tell you something else. A little backstory about Rob Benedict and Rich Spate. We've been watching Supernatural from the get-go on Netflix. Between season 1, we didn't get any music. Anybody recognizes us. We got nothing.
Right.
Because of the weird contract loophole for season 1. Right. So it's so GD refreshing to hear the hits of the 70s and 80s.
So when you hear on
the tracks, it's great.
Yeah. You hear Styx ripping in there, you're like, oh my God, this is the actual song.
Yeah, and the way you guys, Phil, the way you and the team like chopped it up to make it impactful and sort of drug out parts, it's so great.
We asked Chris to just create the beat because it stops before the scream comes in.
Mm-hmm.
We had it just play, and it was like, no, that's not right. And so I think it was me and Tom McQuaid, our editor at the time, we pushed the scream of the song right when Dean says we're screwed. But then we had that huge gap. So I think we asked either our music editor, Dino, or Chris to come up with that little toot, 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 and just repeat it until they got to it.
Huh.
And
so
that's how that came about. But that was super fun because it was like so perfect in that this was going to be a bigger thing that, we're going to see this guy again. He's going to show up in their lives, chasing him with the power of the FBI.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was almost like a remix, like Renegade remix.
Yeah, a little bit.
The Sgriccia mix.
I challenge everyone to find a more powerful, actually, I would say also the emergence of death. Like the first appearance
one of my
death.
favorite moments in the entire series.
As far as those two to me are like the moments of
with the car and the
with the Oh Death remix.
That was a young lady in the promo department at the CW who sang that.
Jen Titus.
Really?
Is that Jen Titus?
Yeah, she works at the time. I don't know where she is now, but we had her. She did it as a goof. And then we said, wait a minute, let's see what that song is. And I forget who's the originator.
It's Ralph Stanley, isn't it?
You're Ralph Stanley. I think it is. It's like an old
It's old bluegrass, old bluegrass tune.
So the way she did it, we were like, why can't we use that? So we paid her some money, and she recorded it.
Wow.
And
that is lore right there.
That is massive lore. Because that's like an epic
like
song.
Pink Floyd recording the Great Gig in the Sky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like, woman who came in and sang that. That's awesome.
She did it. We paid her some cash.
That's
just the way in the industry.
She accepted legal tender as payments.
I only get paid in unregistered handguns.
Like the old days, back when we were running whiskey. But I digress. Gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this. This is awesome. Two of the greats teaming up together to talk about a great episode.
Thanks,
Ben Edlund.
guys.
Absolutely.
Phil Sgriccia.
Sure thing.
Hey, this is Jeffrey Dean Morgan. We are going to take a quick break. Hey, it's Jeffrey D. Morgan again. Welcome back to the podcast.
God, I love those guys, and I feel like Rob. You know what? I'm worried that people are going to stop believing us because after every interview, we're always like, "What a great interview!"
Yeah.
But we really have great interviews on this show.
Yeah.
Fascinating people. You know.
Yeah, amazing. And these are two that we've had on before. It was great to have them together. Really did feel like two all-stars.
I do like having the guys or people, guys and gals, who have worked together on episodes because they really have a different but shared experience. You know,
memory.
Ben from the writing of it and Phil from the directing of it, and a little bit of overlap in pre-production, but very different experiences. And like you say, different memories of the experience. It really makes for an interesting conversation.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's talk about the mythology.
Mythology. Myth. Yes, mythology. You know what? We don't have to do much with mythology this time, Robbie. You know why? Because we done did it.
Yeah, we can kind of cheat here because we've talked about shapeshifters.
Right. So and man, this is gonna be crazy. Robbie and I are gonna sound very different, and we probably have big lapels and bell bottoms on. But this was way back in season 1, episode 6, Skin, when we talked about shapeshifters. Let's take a dive into the vault for this bad boy.
Shapeshifters exist in several different mythologies. Typically, the stories are about shapeshifting from human to animal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which, ironically, when I first saw the episode, this isn't a joke, I thought when I saw the shot of the rat, I was like, oh, is it a rat now? I honestly didn't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Here's what I didn't totally understand. What is the shapeshifter? It's just...
When it's not Jensen?
When Jensen sheds its skin, what is it? We never really know.
I don't know. They talk a lot about like maybe it's so hideous that it evolved.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know.
We never really got there.
No.
Well, it is going to come back in later episodes of Supernatural, I'm told.
Look at this. Check out this piece of mythology that I'm just pulling out of my brain. Did you know that there are stories in Norse mythology where Odin and Loki, Loki,
right,
have taken the form of women to nurse the children other women have given birth to?
That's gross. I can't believe you would do that.
I think that's called A-level parenting. You're not just going to change a diaper, brother. You're going to become a woman and help out with the nursing. That's good parenting.
There's something about it that bothers me.
Well, because you're making it dirty in your mind.
Okay.
And as a guy who played Loki, I'm telling you, it's just being a committed husband.
Okay. I guess it would be gross if you shapeshifted to be the baby to latch on.
Which is what you would do. To my teat. And I don't appreciate it.
In Greek mythology, Proteus is the god of shapeshifting. Lots of shapeshifters. It'd be an interesting ability to have.
If I could shift some shape, I'd take some of this donut down here, give it to me up top, be a little broad-shouldered.
Shift your own shape?
Shift my own shape.
I'd go from an apricot to I'd go from a pear to a...
Upside-down pear.
Exactly. Most popular shapeshifters in pop culture? Some could argue Mystique from X-Men.
And the people who would make that argument are people who know who Mystique from X-Men is.
That's right.
I do not.
Mystiquers, they call themselves. Wow, that was amazing. It was as if it were like 3 months ago.
You've grown up so much since then.
One thing I'll add too this different, as Ben was saying, this is a little bit different. This shapeshifter is a little bit different than the last shapeshifter in this episode. One thing that we didn't see before is that he actually he almost clones them.
What do you mean?
Because he kills his victim,
right,
but their body's still there.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, I didn't realize that they had to be dead to be shapeshifted. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't get that part of it, but
Right.
I guess I missed it.
So, yeah, and I didn't see that last time. It wasn't like, I think that he just like killed them and then put their skin on. But this one killed them and then recreated their skin.
Right, exactly.
That's why there were two of her at the end.
It was kind of clone-ish.
Was it Clooney?
All that cloning around.
I love George Clooney.
George Clooney.
It's time for Fun Facts!
Fun facts! Fun! I love getting a fax.
You know, the Fortean Times was an actual British magazine about unexplained phenomena.
Say that again in a British accent. Here he is, Rob Benedict, as a British man reading this fun fact.
The Fortean Times was an actual British magazine about unexplained phenomena.
More tea, please. Sorry, I'm having a spot of tea while you read this bit. I concur.
Well, hello, mythology.
Hello, Mr. Ology.
The issue that Ronald Resnick shows Sam and Dean has a Cyberman from Doctor Who on the cover.
Oh. Did you know that man-droid is a term that was also used in an X-Files episode, Jose Chung's From Outer Space?
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And then the episode title is an homage to the 1982 film Nightshift, starring Henry Winkler, Michael Keaton, and Shelley Long.
That movie is a masterpiece. If you haven't seen that movie,
Truly
Nightshifter, go
is.
watch it.
One of my favorites.
In Latin America, the title translates into Mimicry 2.
That's funny. One is already a sequel?
I guess Mimicry 1 already came out. Mimicry Uno was already a hit somewhere in Latin America.
In Germany, the title translates to The Man-droid.
Huh. I don't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it translates, I think what he's saying is that this is what it's called in those countries.
Ah, okay, that makes more sense.
Right.
Man-droid is also a 1993 direct-to-VHS film starring Brian Cousins. Or Brian's cousin, if you have a friend named Brian and know his cousin. Well, that was awesome. What an episode. We both loved it. It got big beards. It was just a great experience. And we had Ben, we had Phil. The whole episode's been a home run.
It really has. It's been beards and fun all the way through. This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester and Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester.
Guest stars included Chris Gauthier, Charles Malik Whitfield, Emmy Anke, Georgia Craig, and Sanjay Talwar.
Nightshifters was written by Ben Edlund and directed by Phil Sgriccia.
Edited by Tom McQuaid, music by Christopher Leonards.
Supernatural is executive produced by Eric Kripke and Robert Singer.
The episode features the classic song Renegade by Styx.
The episode originally aired on January 25th, 2007.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty.
What's up, Booty?
Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at SPN Then and Now.
And by all means, join our Patreon at patreon.com/SPN Then and Now.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Benedict. 2 decades or 2 marriages? Hold on. Jesus Christ. Really scary when you're interrupted by your own voice. Okay. SWAT storms the...
Dude, if I'm ever an action star, I want my name to be SWAT Storms.
SWAT storms.
You know what you should do? Like my first movie as that action hero, the movie's called The Building. And so on the top it has my name. SWAT Storms. The Building.
The Building. That's right. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, Rich. Nightshifter. Was that too slurry just now?
No.
All right.
And
Okay.
now... Oh, wait. We got to wrap up the interview.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Was that someone saying miss, but they had a lisp?
Yeah.
Myth. Yeah? That's good. Okay, sorry. Yeah,
It's
we've
like
done
your
it
last
before.
name is Ology. Mythology? Yes.
Oh, hi, Mr.
What can I do for
Mythology.
you?
Hi, Mr. Mythology. Is it mythology? So the issue that Ronald Resnick's show Sam and Dean had as a...
What?
The issue
You've got issues.
that Ronald Resnick shows. Okay, this is the apostrophe.
Ignore the apostrophe.
Okay,
Ignore the apostrophe.
Got it.
Yeah.
The issue that
Story Mill Media.